Oh, the
Art, yeah, they're kind of my favorite, but you've heard of this store. Well, yeah, they got them. Study sessions. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Huh? No. There's going over.
Hello, Mary.
Hi.
Hello, Martha.
Hi,
Judy.
And you.
Well, we're not done this.
I call this study session meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. We're gonna move on to new business item A, presentation by Tyler with Ziptility. Hi, Tyler.
Hi. Thank you all for hearing me. Can you still hear me? Excuse me. Thank you all for having me. Can you still hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I'm going to try to share my screen. I'm also going to try to move through this very quickly with the assumption that you all will likely have some questions. Please do not hold back. I'm Tyler. Thanks again for having me here. I am with Ziptility. Ziptility is sometimes easier to show than it is to speak about, which I will of course do, but my team instructs me to call it end-to-end operations and asset management software for small water and wastewater systems. That's all true. I don't love that run-on sentence, but I will still stick there for just a minute, as I did with the mayor earlier, because I think there's some important points there to sort of help set the stage. First is our focus on small communities. Ziptility has just over 200 customers now, I believe, in 34 states. And we think that we are the only ones in the industry to focus on small. We do that because we really enjoy doing so. There's obviously a lot of need. But what that means with our tool is that we work very hard on specializing around the needs of these folks in communities like yours, so that you do not have to hire outside help to implement the system or have full-time IT staff or really spend any time configuring. We want to be a tool for you to you and your teams to be to execute out in the field. Also, the end-to-end piece is important, and we'll get into that in just a bit. For those of you that are familiar with tools like ours, we're sort of the kind of the best parts of all the acronyms of a GIS system, of a CMMS system, of an EAM system, of a CIS system. But we don't believe that small systems and communities like yours necessarily care about all those acronyms and the existing sort of software segments. So we work really hard to be everything that you'll need from those systems in one place. All that to say, I think that explanation is a little bit too complex, and I think it is usually easiest to think of us as two things. First is a digital knowledge repository. So as you'll see here in a minute, we are a place to capture everything that anyone has ever known about your infrastructure systems. As you all know, and I'm experiencing every day, the world's changing fast, and people are coming, people are going, systems are growing, systems are aging, and as that information walks out the door or is lost on a piece of paper somewhere, that can be really problematic for organizations like yours. Ziptility is the place for everything to go to sort of future-proof your org. We also like to think of ourselves as an operating system. So once you have populated the system with all the information that I just mentioned, it becomes a very powerful tool for communicating better together as a team and getting visibility into the work that should be done, as well as the work that is being done. Now, again, I'll show you what this means in just a second. I think that you all have a very specific, I think very exciting opportunity with the SJE team. We partner with dozens of contract operations companies across the country. They are, I think, one of our best and brightest partners. And I think maybe the simplest way to think about how we might be able to help you is essentially we will be a platform to where your team and the SJE team can capture everything important about your water and sewer infrastructure, also where they can capture their plans and what they understand should be done to those systems. And then we become the platform to help you operationalize that and essentially, again, future-proof that over time. What you see here is obviously a map that doesn't have a whole lot on it. We are a tool to help you populate that. So I'll just very quickly show you sort of what that looks like. Adding a water lane in is as easy as doing this. We have what we call, best practice templates. Refresh that, sorry. Which help you understand all the information that you're going to want to know about your infrastructure 10 years from now. Might be trying to log into too many systems at once. Sorry. Okay, so add a main line, as easy as so. This is your asset profile. This is where you'll collect all the information that you find about said asset. We have built-in asset management planning tools in each of our templates. And then I will show you what that looks like in as far as work is concerned. So this is likely to be filled out actually in the field, and I can talk about that a little bit more in a second. But this is where you're going to collect all the information while you're working about these assets. As you decide to log or record work, that all lives in the same place. So if you're exercising an isolation valve, say, and you know that, or you learn that you need to make a repair, you can log that here and say, valve won't turn, consider replacing before next fall. Create, it gets added to a backlog. It is noted on this asset for next time you go to maintain it. And all the work that gets completed about this asset lives in a forever history here. This is obviously kind of probably a lot to wrap your head around sort of from scratch this way. I just want to show you how simple it can be to go from nothing to something. As you saw a second ago, it can be tough for me to switch organizations like this, but let me try again. This is a nearby community. Yeah, please.
Okay, really quick, there was a question here. So
yeah, of
this
course.
is kind of, it's a program that would help our water system. So that way it can log like maintenance, and it'll send remind. It's kind of like an app, right? And so then this will give us a map as to okay, this, well, here we just did this type of maintenance. These are the updates that it needs. It's just basically, what would you call it? Like a log, right? Like just to kind of keep, and it's something that we think would be really good to implement, because that's one thing that I know Jay had brought up, where one of our causes as to some of our issues is things were being maintained. There wasn't very good record keeping, and it helps us to just go into the digital instead of just having everything on paper. So this is a program that Jay actually uses in some of his other cities that he works with, and so that's what Tyler's presenting right now.
Yeah, this is a great example of and this is just a small section, but of a community that they did nearby. They mapped out all the infrastructure. They did what we would call a condition assessment on every asset, and they took their knowledge and sort of combined that with the templates that we've put together from our 200 plus customer experience, to note the preventative maintenance that should happen on each asset. So I think this is one of the examples that we talked about earlier, but you see here that this booster pump, they have all the important information that you'll need to know how to maintain it. He recommends here exactly how this should be handled. Pictures of everything that's important so that he can collaborate with folks remotely. And then here, he has all the preventative maintenance for this asset already scheduled. Now this is brand new, so there isn't a long history here, but you'll see that they have already done this once. In the task itself, they have SOPs already documented, so they're logging all the maintenance. They're tracking exactly what should be done, and then they could, in this particular case, they didn't, but track parts that they're using, equipment and people hours that they're using, create new work for later. This is sort of their everything system for maintaining assets in their communities, and they do a great job configuring it from scratch, essentially, too. They've also set up here, you'll see the preventative maintenance for other assets, and I think that that's something that we would recommend take place here as well. They're very good. And so this sort of sets for you what should be happening. And then you'll have visibility over time into what is happening. And then for your team, you can manage and dispatch work across members as well. I can go on and on. 10 minutes is a tough, it's like either enough for me to give you nothing or enough for me to give you something that, makes you more curious. But I'll shut up for a second. That is us at a very high level. Would love to dive in deeper as it's useful. And of course, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are we just talking pumps?
Say that one more time. I had a hard time hearing that. Sorry.
Are we just talking pumps, or are we talking main lines?
Like residents
Every-
also, yeah,
City?
yeah, like
Yeah.
all of them.
Everything. Yeah. Everything. I can show you while we're talking. I can show you another. This is a small community that we work with, and I was in their map earlier today. But no, we would recommend that you map your entire distribution system. So that's your lines, valves, hydrants, specialty valves, booster stations, tanks, your collection system. So that's obviously the wastewater equivalent. Your manholes, your force mains, your lift stations, all of that should be mapped. Maintenance should be tracked, and maintenance can be scheduled. One other thing that I will mention is that I think is a little bit unique about our system is that stuff is all really important. But what we find is sometimes the most important stuff is are the things that you wouldn't traditionally find on like an engineering map. So that's keeping track of, and I can show you that here, all of your line breaks. So that's what you see here. These are all, line repairs. This is a 6-inch break and exactly what they found when they did it. All of the, what we call dig notes. So as you do dig, sort of what you find underground, keep record of your 811, on the East Coast, they call them locates. They might call them dig safes in your neck of the woods. So that if a contractor hits a line, you have a way to sort of cover yourself to show that, you did what you were supposed to. Again, this is your everything system, infrastructure and infrastructure adjacent. And sometimes it's the adjacent stuff that ends up being sort of the most useful in the short term.
Are you guys capable of detecting leaks? Within the
Detecting leaks.
main- Yeah, within the mains or any water,
Good.
any pipe go out to town?
Good question. No is the shortest answer. But we are used for leak finding and repairing by all of our customers. So if you are to use like a leak detection tool, or we're an official Ferguson Waterworks partner, and they have two tools. One is like a predictive AI for finding leaks. The other is some listening equipment. And both of those require a GIS base, very similar, or in our case, just like the one that you would create in Ziptility. So we are sort of like the first step in doing something like that. Also, I'll say that I know, and I'm not as smart as our customers. I'm not a water operator myself. But when you're trying to find a leak here, what the first thing our customers do is try to understand how water is flowing, understand the high pressure points, find the places where there have been leaks in the past, find places that have certain materials that are prone to leaks. They go through this process of elimination. That's the kind of stuff that Jay and his team really understand well. And we are the information that you would use to come to that conclusion, but we don't come to that conclusion for you.
Sorry.
If you guys are gonna map everything, you're gonna map everything throughout the whole town. You're talking
Sorry.
water lines.
Turn on your
mains,
mic,
everything.
Ruben. Turn on your mic.
Yep.
Is
No, it's not.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Exactly.
mhm.
Exactly. We have, and I pulled up on this tab and I can share this with you afterwards, but we have what we call layer templates that we sort of recommend you collect in a standard water and a standard sewer system. I don't know yet, because we haven't gone through this process yet, exactly what exists in your system. But yes, you should map everything. And of course, the map is useful on its own, but the information that you store on that map, right? So once you find the valve, how many turns does it take to close? How many turns does it take to close now compared to how many it took 3 years ago? If it's getting stickier and harder to close over time, what does that say is going on in that valve in that part of your community? So it's the map, but also the information about the mapped assets, of course, that is so important. And I started to say earlier, we have these what we call best practice templates that are set up to help you sort of get ahead of the things that we think are most important. So I can share this with you after if it's useful, but it's already set up for all of the traditional or all of the popular hydrant manufacturers, the different types of the dry barrel, wet barrel, the current status, how you're going to find that thing and how you can access that without, frustrating a customer, how you should maintain that, flow test data, current condition data, photos and documents, and then probably most importantly, all the maintenance activities that you might do to a hydrant, right? So we have an inspection form that goes through all of what we've learned from working with our hundreds of customers on sort of what we recommend is an excellent hydrant inspection process. That's all baked into the tool by default, but can be customized by you because we also recognize, of course, that all systems are different.
So all this would include back checks, chlorine tests, all that.
Yep. Yeah.
It's all gonna be digital?
It's all going to be digital. Yeah. Now, of course, we're not doing the work for you. We're tracking the work that you're doing and reminding you what needs to be done. But yes, you'll have, and we have, well, actually, while I'm here real quick, I'll show you just because I know these guys are really active. So this is all, they're tracking all the services and maintenance that needs to be done. They're starting to organize it into routes. That's what these are. they're doing emergency call outs, they're doing meter replacements. All the work lives in this system. I also know, I think I showed this to Jay and the mayor not long ago. This is what a system will look like once it's a little bit more built out. This is randomly a community in Kansas. I just know that they're really heavy users. These are all the confirmed line locations. If I come in here, you can see that they're in here, you know, taking pictures of their recently painted hydrants. You know, this is all today. So these guys are in here every day, keeping track of what they're seeing and what they're finding out in the field. And so much so that these guys who are our community, just over 1,000 connections, so larger than you, but still small. They have 32,000 photos stored in Ziptility. And they've been a customer of ours for, you know, just a couple of years. I come here though, because I know that they have routines set up already for their sampling. So every day their team gets a notification that they need to go do their chlorine residuals. They record that in Ziptility, export that into an Excel, make a couple small changes for how the state needs that. And then they share that with in their operating reports. They also are very heavy users of our maintenance tracking program. And so I like to come here. This is a new service install. I just know that these always have lots of good info. They added a new meter, everything about that meter, all the pictures of the pit and the meter itself and the warranty information and everything is here, as well as all the parts that they used. And then that all gets tracked back to the meter itself. Obviously, this is a new meter because this is them setting it for the first time. But over time, there will be more and more work here. And so, for instance, if you have a leak and you've isolated it to a part of town, you can start looking around at the different meters, find the different histories and see, oh man, we've actually been here 4 times before looking for leaks. I bet this meter's bad, or I bet we never turned this thing off. And we don't surface that all for you automatically, but we become your, you know, your little black book of maintenance info. And it ends up, I think, being invaluable for the folks that use it right.
Okay, Tyler, then if that's the case, then how do you feel about digital meters?
Good question. I don't have to pay for them, so I love them. I think, you know, I'll say that many of our customers are transitioning from manual read to touch read or AMI meter systems. That is a great time to use something like Ziptility, because if you have digital readers, or excuse me, digital meters, that means you're no longer every month kicking the dirt off of all the meter pits, and they're more likely to get lost. And so if you ever need to, you know, shut somebody's water off or go service a meter, it's important before you fully transition or soon after to keep track of the meter locations, because we've seen that be problematic. But digital meters are excellent. And I think that, you know, I understand that it's an expensive transition, but I know that all the customers that we've seen do it are thrilled. And especially if you've got water loss issues, you'll find a way to make your money back relatively quickly.
Well, if this was to come into fruition, it would be done in stages, I would assume.
Yeah, I think so. You know, it's less intense of an undertaking than you might imagine, though it's not something that's going to happen overnight. I'm not the one that gets to decide who does it, but we very intentionally build tools for folks that understand, you know, we say with the muddy boots, right? So you can use GPS systems, you can adjust all this to be survey grade, you can loop in consulting engineers, you can over time become as precise as you'd like. We though we encourage a democratic process where Lorenzo on your water team potentially, I mean, in smaller communities sometimes it's all of you. it would definitely be the SJE team. I think you would have as many people as you have with eyes on your system contributing to keeping the data up to date, and you'll be amazed at how quickly it goes. But yes, I think that it would make sense to imagine, sort of plan in stages. We can help recommend what should go first and what should go last. I think you'll just move quickly through those, and of course that's good news for everybody.
Okay, Tyler, I understand that this is just a presentation, but
Yeah.
Can you give me a rough estimate of what the cost would be for something like this?
Yeah, I can be even more precise than that. After doing a little bit of figuring with the team, we landed on $4,725 per year for unlimited users across your whole community, and that is our Plus package. So we have something that we call Core, which is a way to sort of document what you know, and Plus is the operating system. So that's the recurring maintenance reminders. That's the ability for folks to dispatch, workers out to specific problems. And that one is a little bit more expensive. I do not believe you would have any setup fees because those setup fees in our world are data migration fees. And so it's us taking data from other systems. If you're mapping this stuff yourselves, you won't have to pay anybody to, no expensive startup fees. And therefore, I think, folks always ask us, no hidden costs.
That was a little bit over $4,000 per year.
Per year. Yes. And the reason that is, is a fewfold. One is that you have dedicated human support. And we like to think of ourselves as, not quite consultants, but you can come to us and say, hey, we've got a leak, or we think we've got a leak. How do other people use Ziptility to, track and identify problem leaks? We understand that. We have playbooks. We have, communities that we can connect you with. And we're, always there sort of to help train your current team and frankly your future team, which is another important part. So you can sort of future-proof across regimes and across staffing changes and what have you. That you pay us to be sort of a consistent face. And then probably most importantly is we're making changes to the software every day. And it becomes very important specifically for security purposes for us to stay up to date with, the latest browsers and mobile operating systems and things like that, because we want to be something that's always on in your pocket. I didn't mention we are also offline first, meaning, which is pretty unique, meaning you don't have to have an active internet connection to use our apps in the field. But for all of that to stay secure and to stay, usable, it requires us to make constant improvements. And so that's why you pay for it annually.
Okay, on something like this, would there have to be a contract written up?
Yes, we do annual contracts. Every contract has a 60-day without cause clause. So if you get started and you realize that we're not living up to everything I'm promising you here, you can cancel that contract without any consequence. Typically, customers pay monthly, pay annually because that's how their budget cycle is. If you'd prefer to pay monthly, that's okay too. But yes, and I do have a contract that I can would be happy to share with you all afterwards.
So this contract,
And just coming on top here, council member, Tyler's already shared a contract with staff that's been forwarded to me. And so I haven't had an opportunity to review it. Mari sent it over to me today, but it is something that we're actively working on our end.
yeah, because we weren't aware of that.
Thank you.
That's why I'm asking this question.
Great.
I was just wondering though, if this is yearly contracts, or do you have to do like a 5-year contract or a 10-year contract? That's what I was wondering. Okay, it's just. yearly.
Just yearly. You can do longer contracts if that's, you know, convenient to you for some reason, or technically we've reserved the right, I think, in our contract to increase prices like up to 4% a year. Admittedly, we never have, which probably is problematic, but that's not something that we actively do. But if you want to avoid that, you can sign a longer contract to lock in your pricing and sort of your commitment, but that's not a requirement from us.
Okay, Tyler, so you guys would be in charge of training somebody on site, and not only that, but if there was ever let's say there was a glitch in the program, you guys are the ones that would take care of it and fix that.
Yep. Yeah. So our training is virtual, though we have a network of partners, one of whom is SJE, so they can do on-site training, and they're probably better than we are, to be honest. But yes, we have a dedicated customer support team and customer success team who we have an onboarding process that goes from what we call a kickoff meeting, where we sort of align on goals and we meet team members. We set a timeline. Then we go through what we call configuration, which is where you make decisions about the templates in sort of your ideal state. If necessary, we then do data migration or, you know, mapping, which maybe you'd loop the SJE folks in on. Then we do training, and then we have a series of you know, checkpoints throughout the year. But we are on call and I think our contract guarantees like 99.999% uptime. But this little, you still see my screen, this little smiley face here will direct you to Jason or Steven, who are our account managers, who are always available to communicate with you. You also get you know, a phone number, but we are here to support both the software and sort of the administration of the tool with your team. And obviously that's something that we take very seriously.
Okay, so all this stuff right here is all included with the yearly cost.
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me for all the questions, Tyler, but the reason I'm asking these questions is that way we can prepare ourselves. So when we do decide to take action, we don't have to drag it on any longer than we have to, because we'll already have most of the information that we're needing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. This is great.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Tyler.
Thank you.
And just for clarification, like I said, this is just a presentation, and yes, he provided, actually, we just spoke with him yesterday. And so he provided the contract, not because, you know, this is something that not that obviously council's gonna agree to that, right? Where I'm gonna present it to council, but obviously Drew has to review it first, and then we would present it to you, of course, right? So this is just the presentation, yeah. So there was no the contract was provided, but not because I'm gonna sign anything, so.
No, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Have to sign a 5-year contract?
No, I know.
Or can you do a 1-year?
Yes.
That's what the question was about.
And I'm happy to. Obviously, that would probably go through Drew and then the mayor, but I'm obviously happy to answer questions about the contract or the specifics on that contract once you see it. But I think you'll find that it's relatively straightforward. Anything else? This is great. I always say that I can bumble through a presentation, but really Q&A is my favorite part. So your questions do not offend me, and it's helpful for me to sort of make sure we cover all the important stuff.
Thank you very much, Tyler. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, I will leave you, I think, unless there's anything last minute from any of you.
Nope.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Thank you,
Have a great
Tyler.
evening. We'll be back in
Bye.
touch soon.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're gonna move on to new business B, discussion of the master fee. Did you guys have a chance to review the updates?
It's the same thing we went over, that big old master list, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. This that you have written here is just so much reading and kind of hard to understand it, but it's basically what we went through when we
Yeah.
did the checklist.
Correct. Drew, do you want to explain?
I,
Or talk more on the,
I could speak to, because I think it goes into item C, Mayor, and that's
Yes.
just simply, yes. So during your master fee schedule discussions, it prompted me to kind of take a purview through your codes. And something that I was seeing consistently is that, and this is not entirely uncommon, is that there were fee amounts that were put specifically into the code provisions themselves. That's not an issue. That's usually, again, it always comes down to preference. But the fact that the city had a master fee schedule and the code provisions raised a situation where there could be conflicts between the two, and where maybe, and those conflicts did arise where I did notice that there were certain fees that had been raised, say maybe from $40 when the code said $30. All this ordinance is attempts to do is simply eliminate where I was able to find references to fee amounts, and simply refer to that fees will be affixed by resolution or ordinance of this council. That gives you and flexibility, and future councils the flexibility to raise or lower rates as you see fit through, amending documents like the master fee schedule. So this really is just a simple way to make your code consistent with your already set practices, which is that you use a master fee schedule to set the fees. I'm happy to answer questions, but hopefully it should be fairly straightforward. This is just simply cleanup work.
As long as this is on record that we can amend this at any given time. Some of the fees, not all of them, but there might be some of them that might be amended at any given time. I notice we don't have a fee for stray dogs to be picked up. We got a lot of them. So that would have to be put on the fee sheet.
That is correct, council member. You could, if you wanted to add a fee for stray dogs, a resolution by council could add that fee in a fixed amount. And the ordinance that we're contemplating tonight gives you that flexibility.
Okay, so what would you recommend, Drew? Would you recommend us to put that in? Look up to see if there's an ordinance already, and if there isn't, write one up. That way we can take action on everything at once and call it good? Or does it make any difference to you?
I'm sorry, council member, I'm a little bit confused by the question. What
Okay.
I heard, please.
Go ahead.
What I heard,
Let me rephrase that. There's some fees that aren't on there. One of them is like stray dogs being picked up. And there's a couple other ones. Would you prefer us to add those to the list already, or just approve the list as is right now and then add those, I don't know, maybe a month from now or whatever?
I would recommend approve the list as is. And
Okay.
if there's further additions to the fee schedule, that you add it at a later date. Only so
Okay.
then you guys can have the more robust conversation of what you would like to add, if anything.
Okay, because as of today, Drew, we've already gone over the list. I think we're all on the same page as far as the cost and everything for each item. So I went over these and I read through them, and it's pretty much worded as the way we decided to go upon it. So I wouldn't have a problem with approving this as it's written up right now. Because we can always make changes down the road.
so if it's for example, the stray dog, if it doesn't have an owner, who would we charge?
I think the dog would be picked up and either took it to a shelter or
But who gets the charge? Who
city.
pays it?
City.
The city
The
would?
city.
City.
It would come down.
So then it's,
Take it to them, yeah, it would be the city, but there's no fees to charge anybody because you don't know who they are.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's no
But we
point in
do
doing
have
fees.
ordinances.
There is one for the.
No.
community.
There are dogs out there running around that
No,
they belong to people. It's just that the people don't.
Those
No,
are-
them in
no, but
close.
so then the
those are-
city's
those-
gonna be paying to
those
take
are
this.
the ones Where the PD will pick up and write them a ticket for,
Mayor.
what's it called?
Oh,
Maraudi?
sorry,
Maraudi?
Or-
Marauders?
This actually was brought up last year, because of the issue of dogs just running, and they did belong to people. I think it was dogs running at large or
Mhm.
Yeah.
something like that. But the fee is so minimal that
Yeah.
the people really don't care. And I know that the sergeant had brought it up, and he had said that until we put teeth to it, as far as monetary, then you have a problem. And I know that he mentioned when he worked in Granger, it was like, I think the first offense was a warning, obviously. And then the second offense was like $100. And then as the offenses kept going, the money kept.
It,
raising, right?
it maxed out at 500.
And
I think that's
Yeah.
what it was.
I believe we did, it was changed.
We do.
I don't
Yeah,
think so.
yeah.
That's what I.
No, I believe they was changed, because it was brought up, and I think it was changed to what the sergeant suggested, I believe.
Which is,
I
yeah.
don't remember
I'm
that.
writing it down so we can
Uh,
look into it.
If it did, that's great.
Yeah.
Cause that's one thing that we agree on. Yeah.
I think $50 is not adequate. You know, that's just like, go ahead and take my dog. You know,
It's terrible.
yeah,
Oh,
but I think they should be held accountable one way or another, because who's to say that that dog might not bite somebody?
Well, the thing is we find them, they keep the dog, as long
Yeah.
as it didn't bite him.
Yeah.
They still keep the dog.
Yeah.
They gotta pay the fine. But as you said, $50
No.
wasn't enough, but,
I guess we need
Council-
someone to look into.
Councilmember Sotelo said that it got changed. I don't remember that, but if it did,
Okay.
that's great.
Martha's writing down. She
Yeah,
can check
okay.
for us.
Mhm.
Coming up this week.
Well, like I was saying, I'm in agreement with the way it's written up right now. So I don't know how everybody else feels, but I don't have a problem with it at all.
We should all be in agreement. We said it.
Huh?
We should
We're all
all
in
be in
agreement.
agreement with it, because we're the ones that took.
The prices.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take action.
Okay, so then, moving on to new business D, discussion of. I'm sorry. Right, D, yeah. Uh-huh. No, D, new business D, discussion of resolution, 2026, reestablishing, an agreement with Yakima County Credit Services, Inc. for debt collection services.
So you've had one?
We used to have an account with them, but for our, like for tickets.
Oh.
And so, yeah, but then apparently now they do where they, I don't remember what she says.
The accounts?
Yeah, the accounts, like they go through something. No, like how they used to use us through, it was for our, like, for speeding tickets and things like that, right? But now they don't, there's something, I can't remember what she had mentioned, but, since we already deal, which is YCCS, right? So since we already had an account, we are able to just reestablish that. We don't have to,
There'll be more than just the tickets and that kind of stuff. We're gonna put, they'll put.
no, this will just be for the utilities.
Cancel out or no, we gotta reestablish it. I think.
Yeah, because we haven't used it for so long. Yeah, so it's been inactive, yeah.
Okay, if that's the case, do we really need it?
Yeah, I think we should.
Is this just for
It
speeding
doesn't,
tickets?
no, this is for our utilities.
Yeah, for
Our
water bills
utility
and stuff.
bills, yeah.
Something where we already went through a couple of things, if they didn't agree and pay us, did we use them for that? Okay.
Or, yeah, for utilities, for just others, things that they owed us money on, yes.
Okay, let me get this straight. If this affects water bills, and let's say that it does go to the credit, then what? Their water gets shut off until that debt is paid off in full?
Correct.
And how long?
Even if it takes 3-4 months, their water's gonna be shut off? If you have a family with little kids living in the household,
I mean, they
we're
can
still gonna
do,
shut the water off?
they can do, payments with YCCS, and if they,
An agreement.
yeah, and then if they, yeah. So that,
Fair.
but see, there's the question is, I understand they have children, but if they're not paying their bill, I mean, they have to eventually pay it in order for us to turn it back on, correct? I mean,
So how long would we allow before it's turned in collection, a regular time?
oh, sorry, Drew, I'm sorry.
Only to say that the city has permits payment plans, equal payment plans, and they usually don't require, there isn't some state law that says you have to require like a minimum of $50. I would also point out that there are some statewide protections, particularly during heat-related events from the shutting off of water, only to say that there are ways for a family or for an individual to avoid the turning off of the water. And so really the collections is kind of like the last end of that, where if they're just not responsive, they're not wanting to do a payment plan and they're just ignoring the city at that point, you do have to, if for nothing else, the respect for the other ratepayers, you got to, enforce the rules. And that does involve, shutting off and then referring to collections.
Okay, Drew, correct me if I'm wrong, but they also have the option of, if they want to dispute a bill, they can bring it to the council's attention and we can decide what we're gonna do with it.
If there is can everyone still hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, something just happened with my screen. I'm not quite sure why. If there's a dispute with the bill, that they should be coming to City Hall and having a conversation with the staff and with the mayor. Obviously, they have every right to bring it to your attention. But realistically speaking, disputes like that are best handled within the staff. It shouldn't be, it should be handled as best it can between the staff and the mayor. And if there is a dispute and the city's in the wrong, then the city should be making adjustments.
I think it's on our, I'm sorry.
No, go for it, go
I
ahead.
think it's something in the city that they have to come to council with that. I know they should go to the city hall first, but they do bring it to us.
Right.
Right?
After
Right.
the City.
After, yeah, if there's no,
Okay.
if there's nothing,
Okay, so.
if we're not willing, yeah, if the city's not willing to work with them or something,
Right.
or they don't agree with,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
But just really quick, this is just. It like. Them not paying their bill and how long are we gonna keep them turned off, and those questions really doesn't have anything to do with this, reestablishing this, that's something totally different, that they're two separate things. This is just so that we have a contract that is active with YCCS, so that when we do need to use them, we can, right? Because we can't just call somebody up and say, or a collection agency and say, hey, you know what, I have this one resident, no, we have to have an actual account, be a contract with them in order for them to take our bills.
Is there a fee for that?
Yes.
That's the reason these questions are being asked. That way we can be one step
Well-
ahead of the game.
Well, and typically, council member, the fees that are involved for these kinds of collections, they're not fees paid by the city. The city doesn't pay anything. They're fees that are paid to by the debtor.
Exactly.
The debt is.
No,
Okay, that's what I was asking.
No.
Please for us, okay.
And it specifically says it in the contract. Yeah. So yeah, so like I said, this isn't about how we would handle someone's outstanding bill. It's just, like, for example, they moved away, didn't tell the city, and so then but they still owe like a $600 bill. We would be sending those to corrections, yeah. So we don't have to deal with that. I agree with that. Any other questions on this? Okay, so we will be moving on now to new business item E. Discussion and direction from council on approval of quote for well number 6. Jamin?
Good evening, council. As we've discussed at, I think the last council meeting, well 6 is currently offline and has been for a while. There's a piece of electrical equipment there that had an air code a few years ago, and it wasn't recommended by our electrical engineers that you continue to operate it until that air code was evaluated. Some air codes, you turn it off, turn it back on, and see if they come back, but this one caused them concern. So we got a quote from Eaton, the manufacturer of this piece of electrical equipment, to come review the piece of equipment and see if they can determine the cause of the error code. Either give it a clean bill of health or tell you what's wrong with it. And so previously, I believe council's approved this a couple times previously a few years ago. And so, but the city leadership at the time didn't take any action on it, and so it is now currently up again for you to approve. Thankfully, the cost hasn't increased a lot since we looked at this a few years ago. It might only have been last year. Yeah, the well itself has been off for a few years because of this issue.
Any questions about the quote? Or about?
And how soon will that be done? If this is approved?
If it's approved, they may need some paperwork from the city. Once they receive that, I'll confirm with them. We'd look to have it done, have them out there relatively quickly, but we'll be subject to their schedule.
Well, this has only gone up like $25, so. I think it's doable. Because the sooner if we can get that well up and running again, especially right now that the summer's right around the corner, it'll be very beneficial to everybody. But once the electrical issue is hopefully taken care of, then we gotta look into the pump to see if the pump's still okay or.
The pump is run. The city's run that well a few times over the last couple years. And I'm not aware of that there were any issues. Certainly after this electrical issue is resolved, when the city operations staff turn it online, we should pay extra attention to that well, to make sure that there's no issues that have accrued while it's been sitting mostly idle. They did run it a couple times when we needed samples out of the well, but otherwise it's been offline.
Okay,
Any other questions?
so you want action on this today, Drew? I mean, Jamie?
It's up to you. If you guys want to proceed with it, I would recommend moving forward with this and getting the well back online. But ultimately, spending city money is a legislative decision.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Jamie.
Yep.
So, go ahead. Yeah. You have
I just wondered, in our search for property for wells, did we ever contact, Mike Demery's passed, but his wife, Virginia Demery? They're kind of out straight across from Wheeler's.
I don't think so. But I'm not sure who all city staff contacted about wells.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think we need to check into that because he passed away. And from my understanding, she's gonna be moving and they might, if it works, they might sell us, a portion.
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's great. We should have the results of the final test well soon. And yeah, that's awesome, Vera.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that part of town annex, Judy?
No,
It's
it's
not?
over there. Demery?
So would that be an issue, Damon? If it's not annexed into the city, would that be an issue?
I believe
We just gotta-
state law lets you annex, normally you can't, annex islands, annex an island of land into the city. It has to be contiguous with the rest of the city unless it's for a municipal purpose. So for instance, your treatment plant and cemetery are annexed into the city, even though there's like an island in the county. So that would be one issue. You'd have to work through that process, right? Because ultimately you want to put it in your jurisdiction because then you go through your review instead of having to go through a county review. The second piece would be how you get the water. And so if we have to bring it up the highway into town, that would be a tricky part of it. Because you would essentially have to extend water main. We have to have a path to get the water from the well to town. And that would be something we'd have to work through. And if it's a WashDOT jurisdiction, it makes it a little bit more complicated. Certainly, a consideration. And sometimes these sorts of decisions are ultimately made by whichever property you can get. So,
Okay.
but there would be a little more cost if with the water main you would need, we have to see how far it is from existing city water main and then just look at the cost of that water main and the permitting cost of working it potentially in a WashDOT right away.
I think it borders city property and there's always roads. You don't have to do the highway. You can come down Second or Monroe or something like that. Yeah.
Anytime you can stay out of another agency's jurisdiction, the better. So if there's a back road way, that would be best. And that's part of the advantage, of the cemetery location, right? Is it's already annexed and you already have water main extended out that far. And so that was one of the considerations with that location was that you already had water main, an 8-inch water main all the way to the cemetery and the treatment plant that could be connected. That being said, there are some, it may be that that's not the ideal location, right? And the location of the treatment plant, the cattle facility around the corner in the cemetery make it where it's really not somewhere you want to well. And then, we're looking for another site in the vicinity. Assuming that the test well results indicate that's something we should pursue and pending, ultimately what council's decision is on a path forward when we present the feasibility and costs of all the different options and what you guys decide is the path for the city moving forward.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to new business F.
Mayor?
I'm sorry.
We do have to end it and start the second
Oh,
meeting
okay.
at 7, so.
Mayor, do you need me for the council meeting or does this
No.
answer the questions? Are we good? Okay. Thank you
Okay.
guys. I'll see you next
Have a
time.
good evening.
Yep. Take care.